All right.
Good, okay. So, C Street. So, as I've tried to explain, C Street has not been easy to deal with. We're doing a resolution for lead agency. Okay, sorry about that. So, first up is resolution number 65, 2021, naming the Village Board of Trustees as lead agency. I'll make a motion to, with the word being adopted, to name the Village Board Trustees as lead agency.
Second.
Okay, I will read it. It's short. The following resolution, I won't there. Whereas the Village of Cold Spring Board of Trustees is considering adoption of amendments to 4 chapters of the Village Code, including chapters 76, 104, 111, and 124 within the villages of Cold Spring, Putnam County, New York. And whereas the Environmental Assessment Form, EAF, dated 9/02/21 was prepared to comply with the requirements of SECRA and address the potential environmental impacts of the amendments adoption. And whereas after comparing the thresholds contained in 6 NYC RR 617.4 and 5, the Village Board has determined that the proposed actions are an unlisted action because they do not meet any of the Type 1 thresholds found in 6 NYCRR 617.4 and whereas after examining the EAF, the Village Board has determined that there are no other involved and or federal agencies on this matter. Now therefore be resolved, the Village Board hereby declares itself lead agency for the review of this action. Be it further resolved that a determination of significance will be made at such time as all information has been received by the Village Board to enable it to determine whether the action will or will not have a significant effect on the environment.
Trustee Early?
Yes.
Can I ask a question before we vote?
Sure.
The fourth whereas, is that meant to be federal agency or should it be involved and or interested agency?
Federal agent, no. I took this from what Ted,
What Ted said.
yeah, Ted wrote.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Woods?
Yes.
Mayor Moratti?
Aye. Thank you. Now to C Street.
Yes.
So, as I try to explain, not easy to deal with, and maybe that's just because it's this year and it's COVID, and I don't think anyone's sure of exactly how the business is going to go or whether or not people were going to come on the boats and whatever. When we initially started talking to them, or maybe it was down the line a little bit, it's been going, I don't know when we
We
first.
started in February,
Yeah.
and they didn't respond for months.
Right. And then they pop up and then they start talking, and
Mhm.
probably we just.
And then they went back again.
Right. And they also had been talking to Beacon. I think Beacon Mayor reached out to them and wanted them to provide buses, or they were going to provide buses. And then there was discussions with West Point on the same thing, on being able to dock at West Point and when they could dock there and if they were just going to be the games. So they were doing all of this work on
And
the
Milton.
background. What's that?
And Milton.
And also Milton, which doesn't even have a dock or a village kind of, but
They wanted buses from here to Beacon?
Yes.
they were going to try to.
They were going
and-
to do buses from
And
here.
then part of the deal would have been that they would bring their bigger boats, they could have 600 people on, 500 to 600 people, but to mitigate that, the numbers, they would bus these people to Beacon.
Oh my God.
And so we were saying, well, where are the buses going? Where are they gonna park? Who's gonna organize this? Who's gonna do that? And so then they kind of went silent for a while, and they kind of scrapped all those ideas. Oh, but then they also were going to provide and organize food trucks, and they were gonna bring them, and we said, well, food, dockside, we could do that at. And they talked about bringing tables, talked about how they're doing it at one of their other facilities in New Jersey, I think, and how they've done that. And that was all discussed, and then kind of that went nowhere, and then they came back, and then it was like basically they just wanted the basics, and they wanted to do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which we agreed to, but we put a limit on the numbers for each one. We didn't want over 400 people for the days. There'd be only one boat. 400 is I think that's the threshold, and that we can tolerate, kind of. It might even be a little bit much, but from feedback from what we've gotten from restaurants and from what's happened over the years, the restaurants are the ones that really can't handle it during the seasons. So 400 was it. I think we allowed 500, didn't we?
Actually,
And 2 boats.
2 boats.
We let 2 boats, so one would come in, and an hour later, the second boat would come in, and that's how it worked the last time they were. So they had 800 people at least in the village within, with only an hour between them, so.
And how long did the 2 sets of 400 people overlap?
It was only an hour.
Only
The
1 hour
The first
that they were
boat
both-
came and dropped off, and then an hour later, the second boat came and dropped off.
And then when did they depart?
They departed 5 hours,
So we had 800 people,
Yeah,
so that's
so-
what creates the intolerance for.
And another concern we brought up is that we don't really want that boat sitting there in front of, the view during the best time of the year, blocking it. So they worked with West Point, worked with us on that, and so that's where the dates are. I think half of them are, there won't be any boat there, they're just gonna drop off. For Friday, they went back and forth, they weren't sure what the interest is gonna be, because it's a Friday. And so they just wanted, when we gave them the fees the first time around, they said, well, this is high, or can we reduce that if we bring in a smaller boat? And we said yes, and so basically we are gonna cap that, I think it's at 150 or 140?
149.
149, and it's a smaller boat, it's 95 feet versus 105 feet.
But the boats are,
150. yeah.
how are we documenting when they're tying up and when they're not?
As it says in here, between the hours of 10:45 a.m. and 3:30 p.m.
But Dave said
Which
some of the
days?
boats are docking and some of the boats are parking and some aren't.
Oh, that was
That's
last
correct.
year.
And we have the dates on when they're going to be here for the duration, and the dates when they're going to West Point.
So can that be documented in the memorandum?
Why? It doesn't affect the prices.
No, but if we had, it's, the point that Dave made, I think, is one that others in the village share, hating having the boat docked there and blocking the views for people who live in the village. So I think if you were to document that you've made an effort to negotiate with C Street so that that problem is mitigated a bit, that's a plus for you.
It's the agreement of what they're going to, I'm sorry, I don't follow you.
I think what she's saying is it should be in the memorandum, the days that they will be there parked and the days that they will not be there parked. So just specify.
Oh, sure, I'll just change it again. Yep.
Okay, we can make that change.
Thank you.
We've also asked them for, I think it says it here, does it say full COVID?
Yes, it says full.
So how are they, they're already advertising as one shot. How are we dealing with them? Do they,
Their staff will check each person before they're permitted to board for full COVID vaccination.
so their
Okay.
website needs to be changed, right?
They need to implement this for Boyd.
Okay, but just so they know, their website does not say that, so
Sure.
people may be confused about that. It's not our problem as
It's
long
not
as
our
they
problem.
come to our village fully vaccinated, but their website does not state that, so that should be clarified. And where are the toilets going?
Excuse me?
Where are the 2 toilets that they're providing?
Actually, we're providing the toilets.
Oh, we're
It's
providing
it's
toilets.
in ours, and after talking to the providers of the Porta Johns, we're going to get 4. This will put us a little bit over what we charged, what we included in this, but Maria talked to them today, so we brought up the toilets to the elite model, and which has a wash in it, and not flushing toilets if you want to go that high. It's, I don't know, much more. So anyway, so there'll be 4. I think it's costing us $600 more to do that.
That's great.
For 2 months.
So it's 2 didn't seem like enough, so I'm glad you're able to do that. If it's gonna be the kind of washing stand that we had on Community
No,
Day?
it's
No.
incorporated in the
Oh, in the
elite
unit
model.
itself, in the elite. How exciting. Because that ran out of water.
Sorry, and where are the porta potties? I just,
I think one, well, we were discussing this before on if they should all go together, which I don't. So two will go across from Mumo's at the end of the park, where we put them before during a 4th of July celebration, so it'll be in the park there. And then I think, well, and it depends on if we have access on the other end of the park towards the boat club, probably put there. And then we're gonna have to get some signage and just put restrooms.
And they'll be there for the entirety of this
For
C
two
Street.
guests.
They will
But-
be there from
But-
September 30th to November 24th.
But they
And-
also have locking abilities, so we might
We'll
lock
lock
them
them.
during the week.
Every day.
And will they be one of the, if you remember, I can't remember what the conversation was about bathrooms at the waterfront, but there was feedback about how disgusting they smelled through the whole period for the people who live along the waterfront. Are they gonna be cleaned in
Once a week.
between?
Once a week, they will be served.
Once a week cleaned. Great.
Service includes cleaning and emptying,
Ah, excellent.
a key element.
Absolutely. That was the smell issue.
So like, that should have been a whole paragraph in and of itself. Okay.
But that's us, that's the village contracting with the toilet provider, I don't know, the toilet vendor.
Yes.
Yes.
And the fees that we're charging cover the cost of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
And it also costs it's for one additional police officer every one of those days. Friday, we might not need one, but it's included, so we might come ahead a bit on that.
The way I'm reading this, and I may be wrong, it says in number 1, C Street will be allowed to dock one vessel, blah, 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 between the hours of 10:45 and 3:30. So I assume the vessel is staying.
What's that?
In number 1, it says,
Yeah.
C Street will be allowed to dock one vessel between the hours of 10:45 and 3:30. The second one says, C Street will be allowed to dock one vessel for the purpose of discharging at 10:45 and boarding at 3:30. So is that when they pull it out and pull it back in?
No, they are going to be having a variety of
Off and on.
fully docking on a Friday,
Right.
going to West Point on a Friday, fully docking on a Saturday and a Sunday, and going to West Point on a Saturday and Sunday. The prices that we're charging them are based upon the linear fee of the vessel, not whether or not they're staying
Okay.
or going.
So the way our fee schedule, the master fee schedule has it right now, it's $8 if you discharge, just drop, you don't dock, and it's $12 if you dock for the full time. So when we were discussing this with them and we got down to the fees, and they had a little problem with the fees, because what we did, we actually were good about it. According to our fee schedule, and if you read it the way it's written, you would charge them $16 if they didn't dock, because they're docking, or they're stopping, discharging, taking off, but then they're coming back and docking again and discharging, so that's $16. So what we did was we brought it down, or, made note of that to them or whatever, and so.
They agreed to the
and
single price.
They agreed to a single price, which was $12 for whether you dock or don't dock. So-
And so they met you halfway for all of the configurations of docking and not docking.
Yeah, they might have even, less or more.
More than halfway.
So they'll allow-
We benefited on that, I think.
And so what's the normal, this, maybe it's less about this memorandum, but how do we advertise to the community normally about C Street coming and the weekends that they're here and so on?
As soon as we get this to them and they agree, they've agreed to the, basically to the draft, so we can send it to them tomorrow and they can get back to us, and then we can put a blast out and we let the papers know when we announce it,
Usually
Actually,
the
what we
chamber-
tend to do is let the chamber know and Leonora.
Leonora.
Leonora is.
Don't telephone.
Is our person to let all of the merchants know.
Yeah, we've never in the past
Never wanted to belong to.
communicated back to the business owner specifically that this was happening. Trust me, they'll know about it before.
They do.
They
Yeah.
do already.
Yes.
I think they do.
C Street has it all over their website, so. Unfortunately.
I was actually more I was thinking about the merchants for sure, but I was also just thinking about the residents
Right.
too. I feel like the last time they were here, it was like, who the hell are all these people that didn't know until,
Mhm.
It would be great if an announcement could be made via the
well, just
email.
let everyone know however we do it, yeah.
Definitely do our best to do that.
Can item 3 be a form of a request that their website be updated to reflect such? That their website communicate such? That's a real concern for me, that
Communicates what?
that they need to be fully vaccinated. It concerns me
I
that they're.
get it written down. Let CC know that their website doesn't match what they're saying.
And that we require it to.
Oh,
Required. I mean,
I'm
we're
not
basically, so we're gonna well, I think they've agreed to this already. I don't even know if that was part of their protocol or whatever, but I mean, all the other visitors are coming to Cold Spring. We're not asking we're not,
Right, it's
we're
the
not
density.
requiring it from Metro North. So to ask them to, do something, I don't, if it's partial coverage, I think the first shot is, I don't know, what is it?
6 weeks or something, good for
Yeah,
it.
the percentage is pretty high. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't seem fair to me if we're asking them and we're not taking Metro North, nobody can come out off the train unless you're vaccinated, because none of them are, and they don't basically say you have to have a mask. And I've been on the train a lot lately, and as soon as that conductor goes by, it's down.
But this says to show proof of full COVID-19 vaccination.
Right.
The website says
Right.
only one vaccine proof
Right.
required.
So I didn't know that. I'll ask them about that. But I wouldn't stop them from coming if they only have one vaccine. That's my feeling. I mean, if they only have the one shot. I don't know how everyone else feels about it.
I just feel like you're setting a good standard in this memorandum, and it'd be great if they advertised it in the same way.
I mean, I'm fine with, as long as they have at least one. They're saying, everyone 12 years of older must have proof of vaccination, which means proof of receipt of at least one dose, and authorized for emergency use, with the card, with the proof and so on. I should say, that we're not stopping anyone else.
Right, but we're
I'm
also
good with-
not taking, that's a big dense pile of 400 people that are going into, I mean, the merchants are gonna control how many people are in their shops at one time, and everybody else will be outside on the sidewalk. This seems like something to strive for.
Yeah, at the beginning, or when this whole thing started, it was like, that was the problem, and then the shop owners were the ones that had to control that.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was before vaccinations were even happening.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
Everyone was here, like, we're inundated by people, nothing we could do about it. Put up signs, put up stuff on the streets, and the shop owners, and
True. That's a good point.
so we'll make those, Marie can, we'll separate the dates so that we know when.
No, we're not gonna separate, we'll leave those dates as they are.
Right, the dates are there, but you're gonna put which ones they can dock and which ones are not docking.
I will add what they sent in their email.
What's that?
I will add what they
Right,
sent on their,
right,
this date,
exactly.
West Point, this date, Cold Spring.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I meant. And I'll ask them about the full vaccination. I'm not sure, we said that we need one proof of COVID. I don't know if we said full.
Yes, we
Did
did. Yes,
Okay.
I am the one who spoke with them and I did.
Okay, then
And it
we
says
will
it
say
on
that's
this.
not what's on the website, and I'll address that. So with those two things, can we,
We also need to change number 4 toilets to 4.
what's that?
We need to change number 5 to 4.
Okay. Make that change. And I'm only asking and doing this as quickly as we are for the reasons all mentioned.
Yeah, understood.
So, in any other circumstance, it would be, let's wait till Tuesday or whatever, or next Thursday or whenever we want. But we have to let them know and let everyone know so they can order provisions for especially the restaurants, so it affects anyone else that much.
Dave, a question from your experience before COVID with C Street. Have they been consistently this challenging to deal with, or is it COVID that has?
No. We have had an interface at C Street for six years.
Right.
He was let go because C Street encountered an enormous reversal of fortunes because of the pandemic. So it was difficult establishing a new contact. C Street was, pardon the pun, kept afloat by their touring ships last summer. It wasn't clear whether or not, when we began the discussions with them, that where the pandemic would be at the time that C Street normally comes up. So it has been a challenge for them establishing the relationship with us establishing the relationship with them determining what is fiscally reasonable for them to do or not do. So they have had a lot of challenges.
Thank you.
So with those changes, and we'll look into it, okay, so I guess the one thing is the full, if they're saying they didn't see that, or they didn't know that, are we all right with what they have on their website? I personally am. I would rather have them full. I will push for full. I will tell them that it's not what's saying there and that we had discussed this, but if that's one point that they bring up and they say this is how we have it advertised, that's the way it is, what's everyone else's feeling? Because I think
I
that's...
prefer it was full, but I can understand that I can also see the difficulty of them already having advertised, and also if they have sold tickets already and those folks are caught in the middle. I wish they hadn't advertised before this was finished, but there we are.
Yeah.
Just, that is their standard operating procedure.
What?
Advertising before they even approach us. We've had this in the past where we've gone to them because we see on their website that they're advertising stops at Cold Spring. So this,
Well, so one time they arrive and they can't tie up, and that's that.
Yeah.
That's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
Merchants would not.
no,
I'm okay with, I mean, if it has to be just one, or maybe they could maybe take the first 2 weeks with just one and then, flip it from there. If they have
That would be a good compromise. if they
I
can.
We could do that.
We'll push for full.
Yeah.
I would push for full, and
Yes.
then that would be
We'll
a
make
good compromise.
We'll make the change from 2 to 4 porta johns, and we will put the list of when they're docking and where they're docking, and I think that was the only other change. So with that, can we move this forward?
I'm for it, yes.
So I make a motion to authorize Mayor Morandi to sign the memo of agreement with C Street after making the changes identified.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everyone good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And as I said, I would not rush this through if we didn't have to, and they didn't put us in this position. I think we have some, and especially like with what's happened to a lot of our restaurants and stuff, this is, I'm sure they're just, they're welcoming this. Okay, so the final is, and thank you all for coming early and working this out, appreciate. Final is a review of the 2020, fiscal year 2022 Phillipstown Fire Protection Service budget request. Is there any,
What is the request is, the motion is what, to accept the request, to approve the request?
Just review.
it's a review put on there so everybody to see.
Yeah.
For Kathleen and Tweeps haven't gone through this process before.
So there isn't a motion required tonight, okay.
No, it's just review any questions. This is what we present to them each year. And the format's based on their expenses, our expenses for the fire company, what they're projecting.
tried to also do it early this year because they always,
Yes, they actually sent us the letter 2 weeks in advance.
What's
so
that?
They sent us the letter 2 weeks in advance this time, so,
And
which is better than 48 hours.
The town budget process happens in the fall, right?
It starts within the next week or so.
Yeah, so we're getting this because they're beginning that process.
Yes.
Got it.
And their fiscal year and the fire company's fiscal year align. They both start January,
Well,
so.
that's one thing, that's good, right?
Yeah.
It took us, when we first came on, it took us a while to get to an agreement with the percentages and the expenses.
Right, I
and
remember
how this
that.
works.
I have to jump out, there's a planning board public hearing,
Yeah,
so I have to go.
So we just need
Hop
to
on
turn it
Zoom.
off?
I could do that when I'm done.
Okay.
Or if you want, just press
You
the
make a
little
motion
red
to
button.
adjourn and you can be done.
Yeah.
Little red
You
button.
ready to adjourn?
I'm ready to adjourn.
I'm ready to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you again.